The next step in our van build is going to be doing some wiring. So we have to wire up the fan that we just put in and then get some wiring prepared for the lights that we'll be putting in as well. So I'm gonna try to mess with that today and see if I can figure out what I'm doing. So we have limited ports on our Goal Zero Yeti here. And so we wanna save as many of the normally used ones, such as the USB plugs and then our AC plugs here. We wanna save those for accessories in the car. What we do have are these Anderson Powerpole connectors, and since we won't have any normal accessories that we'll be using these for, we thought that we would try to wire up the fan and the lights through the Anderson Powerpole connectors. We got this little strip here which has individual fuses for each of the channels. So we'll send power in from the Goal Zero Yeti into this port, and then we'll be able to send them out individually to the lights and the fan, at least in theory. So the first step will be to make a custom cable to go from the Goal Zero to the channel, to the, what do I call this thing? To this thing. To the, what do you call this thing?
Let's name it Steve.
Going from the Goal Zero to the hub. So first we just need to strip off a small amount of the insulation here. So for the Anderson Powerpole connections, you only need about that much wire stripped. Then we'll do the same thing with the ground wire. So we now have both of our wires stripped on both ends. We'll make sure that we have a little twist in the wires because they have to fit in these little connectors. So we'll just slide one of these connectors on here. And then all we have to do is crimp it using one of these ratcheting crimpers. Okay, so we'll put that inside there, and then we will just ratchet this until it releases. Apparently, just like that.
How's it look?
Good. So we now have both ends of both of our wires crimped with the little fittings on them. And now we just have to slide the housings over top of these and angle them in there. So now we're gonna slide these on. One on this side to go down for this one. And then we'll do one on this side.
Awesome.
This is the first time that we turned it on. Now I'll be able to plug this in here and plug the other end in here, and the light should light up. So now if we push the 12 volt on, we have a light. Okay. So since we are running a DC battery, there is an inverter to transform that electricity into AC power. But the most efficient way of getting the power out will be to maintain it as DC. So what we have here is a DC LED strip that goes into an AC adapter. So we are basically going from DC power to AC back to DC again. So if we can just cut this wire here, throw on some Powerpole adapters, and plug it into our hub, we will hopefully be able to power the lights. We'll see. The dash cable here will match up with the black ground, and the plain cable will go in the red one. Since these wires are such small gauge, they're hard to push in, so if you just get it partway in there and then take a small screwdriver, you can push it in and you should hear it click again. And we are now in there. And we have another connector. Now if we plug the lights into the hub, we get lights.
Whoa.
Okay, so we're hanging out in the parking garage and we're gonna try to get the fan wired up here and see how that goes. The wires will have to be able to reach all the way down here, which is where the battery will sit eventually. So we're gonna have to add an extension onto these wires, then hook it up to the hub. So with the Maxxair fan, the black wire here is actually positive, so it needs to go in the red, and then the white wire needs to go in the black here. It's backwards from what you would think. And then we need one of the ground. Okay, now fingers crossed that our fan works. Plug this into our extension, and then our extension will run up here and probably through the wall here and back across over here, which is where the battery will sit. Just plug this into our hub. And we turn the fan on.
That's so powerful. That's awesome.
So the last thing that we need to test is whether this auxiliary port back here is working properly. It should deliver power to the battery while the car is on, and then when we shut the car off, it should stop delivering power. So that's the goal. So we're gonna plug this in and plug the charging end into the goal zero here. We're not getting anything in, so that's good. So now if we start the car, we should get power going through there.
Boom.
And it looks like it's working. We're charging.